Does this rhyme ring a bell with you? Oranges and lemons, say the bells of St. Clemens. I owe you 5 farthings, say the bells of St. Martin's. And how shall I pay you, say the bells of Old Bailey. This is a story about the London bells. The story begins. The bells of St. Martin's in the Fields have been ringing now for many, many years. They've done a sterling job. These bells, in fact, were responsible for chiming the arrival back in England of Captain Cook, who, of course, had made his journey all the way to the east coast of Australia and discovered Australia. It was quite a time. And these bells have really welcomed many people such as him, and also just welcomed many people. However, the bells have been in their tower for many, many years, and slowly the tower was crumbling. The bells were going to be melted down. What a sad state for these historical bells. But the things I've learnt from researching this speech, there was one man who had a massive amount of vision, and he could see a light at the end of the tunnel. His name was Blake Reynolds. He was a bell ringer, a businessman, an opportunist, an entrepreneur, just an incredible person. And the idea of these bells being melted down into something smaller was just not on his list of things that he wanted to see happen. So he set about making sure that they didn't. He, in fact, offered the bells, or made sure they would be offered, to the city of Perth for their bicentennial. This happened, which was superb. But however, in wanting of course, London wanted payment for these bells. So what did he do? But he approached the mining companies of Western Australia to donate 7.5 tonnes it was of copper and tin, so as new bells could be made and the old bells could be realigned and given to Western Australia for their bicentennial. It was a tremendous faith, and I really learned a lot from the vision he had in seeing that these bells came to Western Australia. So they came, but however, for the first 12 years, they lay in storage. There was not a tower for them to go into, so they just lay there. So words were put in place for Sharley, architect. He was an incredible man who designed a tower so as that could befit the bells. The tower was 82.5 metres high, very high, but it had to be for all the bells to be housed. There were 12 bells, and they had an additional 6 made just to make everything really, really sound beautiful. The next player, and we'll call it a player, there's a lot of controversy about the bells and the fact of where they were going to be placed. And this came from the public, the opposition. But things I've learnt about the controversy was that whilst it was well founded, when it actually came for the bells to be, or the bell tower to be opened, who was the first to line up? But the critics themselves. So what was supposed to be an angst was in fact an incredible icon for the city. If you team then, Richard Court was responsible for that, You then look at the incredible job behind the scenes that Blake Reynolds had done. I was extremely proud to hear that one of the things that I've learnt, that he really did a fantastic job, that he was appointed patron to the Bell Tower. He has got an incredible collection on bell ringing, and very, very proud to be given that job. He teamed Blake Reynolds with Richard Court and Sharley, and of course, who's missing? I've learned from Lara, the chief bell ringer, that it takes a lot to chime a bell, or takes a bit to chime a bell, but to ring a bell is another story. Between the bell ringers, there are 179 years that these bell ringers are put into place. And to be able to ring a bell takes a lot of years. A few years ago, I had the pleasure of escorting a group from our Japanese sister city, Adachi, to the Bell Tower. It was a tremendous outing for them. Not only were they shown how to ring a bell, they were also given the opportunity to ring one and learnt all about the history. They got a certificate to prove it. I was very proud to have been able to show them around. But a lot of the things I've learnt have been special that it takes dedication, vision, and I guess the will to be able to create something to achieve the bell tower in its present location. I've also learnt a little bit about the public. Without the public, this incredible vision would not have happened, because they now go along and look at it and say, wow, just look at this. But I look at now, and another thing I've learned is that if I haven't in some way been able to portray all this knowledge I've learnt to you as the audience, I've really missed the plot just a little bit. So my thought to you in closing is to go to the Bell Tower, to have a look, and I hope that you in some way have learnt a little bit about the volunteering and the tremendous aspect of learning how to chime a bell. So I challenge you to chime a bell.